Hi, everyone. Happy Friday. Thanks so much for joining the session today, the Insights Tech Showcase. Before I hand it over to our speakers, just a reminder to put any questions that you have in that Q&A box, and we'll get to as many of those as we can at the end of the session. But I will go ahead and hand it over to Crystal.
Great, thanks, Kara. My name is Crystal. I'm the marketing manager here at itracks, and below me you see my colleague Leon. He is our director of sales and client development. He's going to duck out for the presentation, but he will be back for the Q&A portion at the end to help me to answer some of your questions. So itracks specializes in software for mainly qualitative, but also some quant-to-qual research. And we were founded way back in 1998 when computers took up a lot more space. We have made driving innovation based on our clients' needs a constant priority, which is how we're still around today. And what I'm going to show you today is some new tech that, combined with the right methodology, can solve for some really common pain points in advertising testing, particularly testing video ads that you might be familiar with. So the pain points that we're going to talk about and hopefully solve for today, number one, the complexity of mixed method research, specifically some of those pain points or hurdles that we are likely to encounter when we're doing traditional quant-to-qual or survey to focus group or interview research. Second, our response biases. So in particular, retrospective bias, where we are often relying on people's memories of past experiences or how they felt about an ad, and we're maybe not getting totally accurate responses because memory is fallible. It can be influenced by a lot of different factors. We've also got social desirability bias, where people tend to give responses that go along with what they think is a more socially acceptable response. This can be especially apparent when they are worried not just about what the moderator or researcher thinks about them, but when they've got fellow participants or peers in the room with them who can hear their answers and maybe have already answered the question, so they know kind of how the group thinks. We also want to be able to capture subtle emotional nuances. So how do we capture not just that big picture, but the fleeting emotional reactions that people might have to our ad creative while they're watching it? And finally, tight deadlines. We've got to turn things around really, really quickly here, especially when we're using ad creative that references current events or trends. So today I am going to show you some new tech from itracks you can use to make your ad testing project more efficient, more nuanced, and more insightful, so that you can figure out not just whether your audience likes your ad or not, but what they liked, where you lost them, and what you need to fix, all within those tight time frames. So these are the three pieces of itracks tech that we're going to look at today. I will lead you through an example methodology that uses all three of these features of the itracks real-time platform together, and they absolutely can be used all together like I'm going to show you here, but they can also be used in different combinations depending on what it is that you need to do in your particular project. So it's totally flexible, totally up to you how you want to use it. And some of the most fascinating projects I've seen have actually been from clients using our tech in ways that we hadn't even thought of when we were initially building it. So as you're watching this, I encourage you to really think outside the box when you're thinking about how you would use this tech and make it work for you or your clients. First, a little preface. Everything I'm showing you here today is happening in itracks real time. So that's our synchronous video platform. I don't have time to go through all of the features of it in detail just because of the time we have here today. But in short, it is made for research. You'd use it for focus groups and or interviews. It offers second to none engagement for stakeholder observers, and it's got an unblemished privacy record. So if you want to dive in deeper, please feel free to reach out after the presentation. I think there's a link to request a demo on that registration page, or I'll give you my contact information at the end too. And we are happy to take you through any of this more in depth at any time. But back to ad testing. So let's talk first about the challenge of connecting quantitative insights to qualitative depth. Ad testing will often, if you're doing mixed methods or quant-to-qual, start with a broad survey, but the numbers alone don't tell the whole story. So you need some qualitative exploration to understand why certain patterns emerged. So what we might do is do a big quant survey from a large sample, get some data, and then from there recruit a focus group, maybe with different clusters of demographics that we want to hear from, to ask them some more in-depth questions about what we found in the survey. But there are some common hurdles or kind of bumps that often happen here. So what if our focus group participants don't reflect the findings from the survey? We tried to recruit the right people, but what if we get there and we're like, data shows that people felt this way, and they say, oh, well, I didn't. Or what if the participants we want to recruit don't show up to the focus group? We know that show rates usually aren't 100%. We want to make sure that we get the right people. And how do we turn this around quickly? This process can take some time. So to address all of that, we have itracks Fusion. itracks Fusion allows researchers to transition between quantitative feedback sessions with up to 50 participants, immediately followed by a more intimate video focus group to dig in deeper. And the participants are selected right after the survey finishes based on their demographics and responses to that quant portion. So what you're seeing on the screen here are views of how the participants see the software when the quant portion is happening and how the observers would see the software when the quant portion is happening. So over here, we've got the participant view. It is designed to be really simple. We want it to be fully immersive for them so that they are thinking about the question they're being asked and nothing else. That's it. So we've got this guy up here. He's actually proctoring the session. So he's talking to the participants as they go through the questionnaire, but the participants aren't allowed to see any of the other participants. They can't see how many people are in there in the room with them. They're just seeing our proctor and they're seeing the question that was asked. So in this particular question, they are choosing between two different versions of creative that they were showing. Over here, you've got what the observers are seeing. So the observers, so these are going to be your stakeholders, maybe your clients, anyone who wants to watch this research happening. They are active participants in this process, and they're able to observe real-time visualizations of the quant results as they happen. So here we've got a bar graph, and it's showing a live comparison of data between the two versions of creative. And you can have this data being compared across sessions too. So you might not just be doing one group of 50 for this quant survey. Maybe you've been doing these sessions all day. You want to compare across sessions as well as across versions of creative. And this is, again, really flexible. You're designing the survey, so you decide what it is that you're comparing. You're having open-ender responses come in here too, all sorts of data that, again, is being shown to those observers in real time. And then you can also see here we've got the list, so you can see how many people are participating in this survey. So after we go through the quant session, so we've gone through this whole entire questionnaire, then the participants are temporarily moved back into the virtual waiting room. And while they're in there, the moderators and those stakeholder observers, they're going to review the participant responses, and they're going to identify the individuals best suited for the in-depth discussion. So here you can see a table. It's small, it's tough to read, but we've got like the name of the participant. We have some demographics questions that we asked them beforehand. So we've got their income level, their age, and then we have the responses to the questions that were actually just asked in the survey. So you can see we've got some open-enders and some multiple choice going here. And you can use all of this information to choose the participants. Maybe you want to cluster some focus groups based on demographics, income level, gender. Maybe you want to choose based on how they answered a particular question, which version of the creative they preferred, or maybe you're going to choose based on how articulate or engaged they seemed in the open-enders. And then once you've chosen who you want to bring back, they're brought into the discussion room to immediately begin that qualitative discussion. So they've never left the real-time platform. They were just doing a questionnaire, hanging out in a waiting room, and then now they're back, the ones that you've chosen, into this real-time platform to do the focus group. So this now is where you can dig in deeper to that data revealed during the quant phase. And remember, these are the exact same people who answered that quant portion just a few minutes ago. So you can ask specific questions of these people based on those responses. And you're not going to risk asking things to them and them saying like, oh, I don't remember saying that. Or like, oh, I get that your survey might have shown that most people feel that way, but I don't, because they did answer that. You can see it, and they did it just a couple minutes ago. So they're unlikely to figure out why they felt that way. So it's got some big advantages over that traditional quant-to-qual survey to focus group at a later date methodology. And during this part, your observers are still active participants in the process, by the way. So again, we've got the participant view where it's simple. They're fully immersed in the process. They can see each other. We've got the moderator. We have a different moderator for this group for the qual portion in this project, but you don't have to. And then we've got the stimulus that they're discussing. And then over here, again, we've got that that observer view. So they can see all the participants and the moderator, but they can also chat amongst themselves, both via video and via text chat. They can also communicate with the moderator. So maybe they're discussing and they're like, oh, I would really like you to probe a little further on this particular question for me. They can let the moderator know, and they can do that, and the participants can't see them doing that. The moderator, if they want, can also mute the observers so that it's not distracting them from the moderation, but the observers can still talk to each other. So maybe they want to begin that brainstorming process. Maybe what they're hearing from the participants is giving them ideas for how to revise that creative. So again, they're totally active participants in the process. And we have had clients achieve a lot of success in using this methodology for their ad testing. The quote that you see on the screen right now is from the Senior Manager of Consumer Insights at Hershey's, and they've actually used this tech for multiple high-stakes ad testing projects now with our friends over at Kantar. Kantar were the earliest users of this tech, and they actually drove its development. They've done some really wonderful work in the platform with Hershey's for what might be a high-stakes ad testing there is. They've been testing Super Bowl ads, and the speed with which they're able to go through that refining and iteration process with the creative, along with how engaged the Hershey's team gets to be in that process, have been really big reasons that they've come back to this tech and method for their ad testing. So, okay, now that is fusion. Now that we've effectively segued from quant to qual, how do we ensure that the qual portion of our ad test accurately captures the nuance of the human emotional reaction? And this is where the dial tester comes in. So I'm going to launch a quick poll here. Have you ever heard of a dial tester in ad testing? So go ahead and answer that. I'll give everyone a few seconds and then I'll close this here. So just click your answer and then hit submit. Okay, I'm seeing a big mix, about half of which are no, what's a dial tester? So I'll let you know, and I'll let you know why we called it that. So the name dial tester goes back to the days where we were mostly doing in-person research. And it's called a dial tester because you would have people watch an ad or watch a video, whatever it is that you're testing, and then they would have like a physical dial that they could move and use to indicate how positive or negative they were feeling about whatever it is that they were watching. So what I'm about to show you here is our version of that. So the dial tester is designed to address that pain point with traditional methods where you're relying on post-viewing feedback. Because that can be vague, it can be heavily influenced by hindsight. We'll ask like, how'd you feel about the ad? What did it remind you of? And the participants will try their best to answer, but they're limited by the constraints of human memory. So they might be able to tell you whether they liked it or not, but they might not be remembering accurately. It's also going to be really tough for them to accurately tell you like exactly where you lost them or the exact second that either turned them into a new customer or made them decide to never buy from you again. So the itracks dial tester changes this by capturing those live emotional reactions second by second. And you can use it during any focus group in itracks real time. It's just a question type that you program into your guide. So if you have a real-time subscription, you have access to the dial tester. So what I'm going to show you on the screen here is how the dial tester looks in action. And the first view we're going to look at is from the participant's point of view. So here we have the moderator has shared the advertisement, and Rachel, that's our participant, she's down in the bottom here because this is her view. As she watches this, she's been instructed to click these like buttons here. So they go from -5 to +5. So -5 is really negative feelings, +5 is pure elation, and then we've got everything in between here. And she's doing this in real time. So she's just clicking it as she watches the ad. And her fellow participants here, so we've got our moderator in our top left, but the rest of the participants are all doing this at the same time. So they're all doing it together, but they can't see how one another have answered. Because again, we don't want that social desirability bias to come into play more than it has to. So while they're doing that, the observers, again, our observers are going to be active participants. they're watching in the back room and they are getting a report that's coming through in real time. So in the background there, you can see the ad that our participants are watching, but you can also see these results coming in live. So you can see both the average result of how everybody feels. So everybody seemed to really like this portion of the ad. And you can also see the individual responses, because averages aren't enough. Like, an average response doesn't tell us whether everyone felt kind of meh about something or whether there was a really polarizing response where we had a lot of high positives and a lot of low negatives. So they are seeing those results come in real time. And then we can tell exactly where viewers are feeling connected or not. And we take the guesswork out of understanding that ad's impact. And from there, we can refine the ad more efficiently and focus on those moments that need adjustment. So let's say, for instance, Rachel came back at the end of this and she said, yeah, I like this ad. You can see that that is the case for the most part, except for she had a really big dip here at this portion of the ad where it says skip the green beans. And there's this guy in a Santa hat. And then from there, there's her clicking the button. And then from there, she goes back up. So yeah, in general, she would have been telling the truth. She liked this ad quite a bit. But maybe we want to know, what caused that big dip here? Why did you hate that portion of the ad so much? So now we have that information. We can see what Rachel said, and we can go ask her about it in the focus group. So after we ask all these people and see their data, we're able to dig in and have a discussion about what it is that we saw. And again, those stakeholder observers, they're all seeing this. They're all able to communicate with one another. You can see them over here. In this case, I was an observer, so that's me in my home office. And then they can ask questions or indicate what they want some further probing on. So after the qual phase, we can use the AI analysis assistant to dig deeper into participant feedback. So I am going to be really quick about this, just in the interest of time. But even just this feature, it could use its whole demo or its own demo. So if you want more info about this, let me know or reach out, and we're happy to do that. So the AI-enabled analysis assistant, it analyzes transcripts from the focus group discussions, and from there, it'll identify key themes, sentiments, named entities, all of that. So here you can see our focus group that we did on our ad testing, and we can see we've got topics like food and recipes, we've got keywords, we've got green beans here. So clearly we talked about the Rachel hating the green beans part, named entities, and emotions. And from there, we can create data visualizations. So here the AI has identified the top 5 keywords and helped us make a pie chart. This is all totally customizable, though. I think that a lot of us would agree that we're not yet at the point where we can use AI and totally trust it without looking at it. We want to have a look at it, maybe make some edits before that goes out. So all of this is AI enabled in that it gets you started and it gives you the tools to do this really quickly, but it is all totally customizable. So you can use your brand colors, you can pick different keywords, you can pick different things to highlight all together. We've got our sentiment map of our dial tester here that we can look at. And my favorite part of the analysis assistant is you can use it to create highlight reels. So here, again, we're on this green beans train. We've asked it to pull all of the clips where someone talks about green beans, and then we can create a highlight reel. So I can adjust timestamps, I can remove clips, add clips that maybe it missed, and I can even go and tell it which video feed I want. So we do have single stream video recordings happening of all the participants, and I can tell it, do I want the whole group or do I want just Rachel and whatever she's talking about here? And then you can put them all together into a finished highlight reel and share that with whoever it is you want to share it with your observers, with your research colleagues, or you can save it and download it and use it for marketing or whatever it is that you want. So that's all the time we have. Here's everything we talked about today. Again, there's a lot more to show for all of this tech. So I want to just close with saying these innovations are here to make your ad testing process smarter, faster, and more impactful. Thanks a lot for your time, and we're going to open it up to questions for a couple of minutes.
Yeah, thank you so much, Crystal. And we don't have much time, so I'll just get to a couple questions here. It looks like Joanne asked a question and Leon responded in the chat, but I'll read it out in case anyone missed it. Is participant aware they are being observed, assuming the observed is influenced by the observer?
So that's really up to you. The participant can't see the observers. There's no indication on their end that they are being observed. That being said, a lot of researchers are going to opt to be fully transparent and say, you know what, we have like stakeholders in the back room, they're watching. So if they are aware that they are being observed, it's because that researcher has intentionally made them aware, but there is no indication in the platform that they're being observed.
Got it. Thank you so much. And then just second question here quickly for the dial tester, is it able to compile responses from multiple sessions into one graph, or will they be all different ones if you do multiple focus groups?
Yes, so there's a pretty good chance you're going to want to do more than one focus group when you're testing creative. The dial tester can like amalgamate those responses so that you're seeing all of the sessions in one graph. And that's just done in project setup. So like I said before, this is just a question type that happens in that real-time platform. If you want a bunch of groups all put into the same graph, you would just give them the same code when you're setting them up, and the software will put them all together for you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Crystal, and thanks everyone for being here. We are wrapping up, so just a little over time. So I'll let everyone get on to the next session, but thanks again, Crystal. We'll see you all in the next session.
Thanks a lot.